Oh, hello. Good morning. We'll be exposing Boogie. We'll see.
And the Supreme Court has destroyed the entire federal government. Well, that's only slight hyperbole. Maybe just the entire administrative state. Now, you might have heard of Chevron or Chevron Deference. Well, the Supreme Court just killed it, and that's a big deal. It's a huge deal. It's one of those things that generally you have to be in the know to understand. But it would be like if the Supreme Court just said all briefs must be filed in Latin. Maybe it won't affect you on an everyday basis, but it really screws up the judicial system, and it's going to be a pain in the ass for lawyers and judges going forward. Now, to understand this massive decision, you need a quick primer on administrative law. Here's 3 things you need to know. First,
you know what? I'm going to say it. No. I'd be curious to see if this actually has that much of an effect. We'll see. Pisco said it'll have a huge effect, or he believes it could. Legal Ego seems to be saying it's not going to have a huge effect. We'll see.
Congress passes laws, and generally courts interpret those laws because sometimes those laws are ambiguous. A lot of those laws establish or empower federal agencies because the government is big and does a lot of stuff. And finally, a ton of what those agencies do is highly technical or scientific. So sometimes Congress intentionally leaves laws ambiguous so those agencies can do their jobs. And Chevron deference is all about what happens when a federal agency deals with an ambiguous law. And chaos lawyer Liz Dye has more on this catastrophe.
Thanks, Devin. The Supreme Court has executed its biggest power grab in decades, and it's all thanks to a tiny little fish. Yes, the nation's high court issued a joint holding in 2 cases known as Loper-Bright Enterprises versus Gina Raimondo, the Secretary of the Department of Commerce, and Relentless Inc., v. Department of Commerce, both of which involved regulation of herring fishing in ocean waters. The ruling, which overturns a long-standing principle known as Chevron deference, paves the way for courts to rewrite administrative regulations more or less at will. So now, judges can overrule those pesky experts on stuff like what constitutes a distinct population segment under the Endangered Species Act? When does an alpha amino acid polymer qualify as a biological product under the Public Health Services Act? Or how much airplane noise reduction is sufficient to substantially restore the natural quiet of the Grand Canyon under the 1987 Overflights Act? Those 3 examples come from the dissent authored by Justice Elena Kagan and joined by her fellow liberal justices Sonia Sotomayor and Ketanji Brown Jackson. As Kagan notes, the majority's holding in Loper-Bright allows courts to substitute their judgment for that of scientists and policy wonks who certainly know more about the topic than federal judges. And that represents a massive shift of power away from the executive branch to the judiciary. It all started in 1977 when Congress amended the Clean Air Act to force polluters to submit to a permitting process known as new source review every time they wanted to construct a new stationary source of pollution. Under President Jimmy Carter, the Environmental Protection Agency interpreted the law to require permits for every new smokestack. So, to be clear, Congress did its job and enacted a law, and then the executive branch implemented it through rules and regulations, which is its job. But when President Reagan was elected in 1980, his EPA took a different approach. It decided that new source review was only triggered if the improvement increased the amount of pollution in the bubble of the entire project. So a factory could install a new, highly polluting modification without a permit so long as its overall emissions didn't go up, defeating the purpose of the Clean Air Act amendments, which were intended to force new construction that reduced pollution overall. In 1981, the National Resources Defense Council sued the EPA in federal court in D.C. That case was captioned NRDC versus Gorsuch because the nominal defendant was EPA Administrator Ann M. Gorsuch, the mother of future Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch. In an opinion authored by future Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the D.C. Circuit invalidated the rule change because it conflicted with both precedent and the stated purpose of the statute, which was to reduce pollution. The Chevron Corporation, an oil behemoth whose interests did not lie in cleaning up the environment, intervened, and by the time the case landed at the Supreme Court, it had been rechristened Chevron USA versus NRDC. Writing for a unanimous court, Justice John Paul Stevens reversed the D.C. Circuit, articulating what was known for the past 40 years as the Chevron Doctrine, or Chevron deference. Under Chevron, courts conducted a 3-part test when faced with a challenge to an executive agency's interpretation of federal law. First, the courts examined the statute authorizing the agency action to see if its language was ambiguous. If there was ambiguity, it was presumed that the agency was authorized to make rules to fill any gap left implicitly or explicitly by Congress. That gap constituted an express delegation of authority to the agency to elucidate a specific provision of the statute by regulation. Second, the court assessed whether the challenged agency interpretation was reasonable. And if so, courts would defer to that interpretation, hence the name Chevron deference. Only if the agency's interpretation was unreasonable would courts rewrite agency regulations so as to make them comply with the law. Justice Stevens noted that judges are not experts in the field and are not part of either political branch of the government. When a challenge to an agency construction of a statutory provision, fairly conceptualized, really centers on the wisdom of the agency's position rather than whether it is a reasonable choice within a...
Okay, nobody cares.
I'm just like a second away. I'm nervous.
They're gonna love you. You have nothing to worry about.
Okay, I'll see you soon.
All right.
Who is that?
Who's the missus?
I knew it.
Oh, the
I knew it.
missus.
We're finally gonna meet the missus.
She's on her way right now, so.
That's exciting. All right, I'm gonna grab one more picture. I'll be right back.
Do me ancient ear.
Supreme Court Justices tier list. Ask us on 6 months when we read more cases, okay.
Ears deceive me. Or did I hear ye say the missus?
The fuck?
The Kraken herself couldn't have picked a worthier foe. Good luck to you, lad. You'll need it.
My friends are sitting here, so.
13 arms, 4 eyes, beak as long as a lighthouse. I know the missus all right. How'd you think I lost me eye?
What?
The year was 1901. I was studying me maps one night when I hears a thrash below the deck. It was the missus. So I grabbed me trusty harpoon and pierced her directly in the eye. Ah! An eye for an eye, you see. That be the code of the missus.
Are you done?
Aye, that be me tail.
The missus is a nickname I used for my girlfriend Ellie. It's not a squid you wrestled 100 years ago, so.
I once knew an Ellie. Ellie Morris was her name.
Ellie Morse?
The year was 2023. We were set up by our co-workers. Well, not exactly her best friend worked with my best friend. Time itself seemed to stand still, it did. Beauteous as any siren in the 7 seas.
I'm sorry. Are you talking about the same Ellie Morse that lives on Rose
And Elizabeth, aye, the Art Deco house with the Spanish roof tiling. That be the one. Her favorite band was Vampire Weekend. My favorite band was Vampire Weekend. It was the perfect evening. We talked about politics, art, culture, crypto. And when I made me move, lad, she spurned the efforts. You see, she wanted to take it slow.
You guys didn't fuck, did you?
Utterly inseparable we were. The happiest 2 months of my life. We loved spending time together. Her passion for pharmaceutical sales made me want to be a better seafarer. Then one day I received a scroll that summoned me to a last-minute whaling expedition in the Arctic, which I knew would conflict with Ellie's karaoke party in Koreatown the following night.
This party has been planned for weeks.
No, I know. But I'm the only sailor in Santa Monica that knows the North Waters well, so I gotta go.
Okay, well then fine. Then I'm allowed to be hurt by that.
It was never about the karaoke or the voyage. I was scared, you see. Whenever I come close to the intimacy I long for most, I panic and I run. Perhaps that's why I'm drawn to the sea. To horizons I'll never cross. To expectations I'll never meet. So I start screaming. Ye don't know what ye want, ye bitch! I never loved ye anyway, so go! Run along to karaoke with your landlubber friends! Let Neptune strike ye, whore art dead! I had to convince her not to love me anymore. For she deserved the world, even if I wasn't in it.
Look who we found.
Hi. Elijah?
Oh, Ellie! What are you doing
How
here?
are you doing? How How are the North Waters?
Oh, they're good. They were good. Yeah, it was a very bountiful trip, actually. I'm running my own blubber export now.
No way. That's like your lifelong dream, to run your own blubber business.
Elijah, where are your manners? Ellie, how are you? How's pharmaceutical sales?
It's good. It's good. I'm really happy for you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hey guys, they're doing like a half-off pictures thing next door. If you want to head over.
Yeah. You wanna go?
Head that way.
Awesome. Good to see you.
Yeah, no, you too, Ellie. This is me, 10 years ago, admiring the fatty carcass of a seal I wrestled off the Costa Redondo beach. I remember thinking to myself, I wish the whole world could see the beauty of this mammal's flesh. And that's when Elijah's Blubber Emporium was born. It all started here, at HQ, right off the coastline of Santa Monica. Now we have 3 locations: Fairfax, Rodeo, and now 3rd Street Promenade, right by Ellie's. All me Blubber's success is thanks to Cash App. With Cash App, I was able to save with up to 4.5% interest on savings, allowing me to create the perfect land-to-sea courier route for blubber exportation. Join the millions who are already managing their money with Cash App and start saving today. Make the most of your money. It pays to get paid on Cash App.
Wow.
College protesters have finally gone home for the summer, and they've left a lasting mark on history. Their legacy? A destructive trend in social justice activism. It goes far beyond college campuses. It's self-centered, it's manipulative, and it's terrible for America. I call them luxury beliefs. I'm the rare PhD who grew up carrying everything I owned in a trash bag starting when I was 3. I lived in 10 foster homes before I joined the Air Force, then I went to Yale on the GI Bill, and on to Cambridge. Along the way, I came up with the term luxury beliefs. They're ideas held by privileged people that make them look good, but actually harm the marginalized. It's like virtue signaling, with consequences.
Oh, is he the one that actually invented the term? I didn't know until halfway through our conversation with Kyla, is it Scanton? I didn't know, she said she was the one that, or Scanlon, sorry, fuck. She's the one who made up the term vibe session. I didn't even realize that until like halfway through our conversation. Fuck. At least I think she did. I don't know why I Googled her name. I don't know what I'm looking for. Oh, 2 years ago.
Defund the police.
Why should we defund the police?
Take defund the police. Classic luxury belief. That cause was most supported by the wealthiest Americans. It was least supported by poor Americans, who are at least twice as likely to be victims of violent crime compared to the middle class. Where I grew up, we were lucky there were police to call. Next up, decriminalizing drugs. That's another luxury belief.
All drugs should be decriminalized.
I want to decriminalize drug possession for personal use, and here's why.
Should crystal meth be legal? The answer is yes.
That movement has been most supported by well-educated Americans, less so by those without a college degree, who are more likely to experience the downsides of the drug trade. My mom once tied me to a chair with a belt while she got high.
Hold on. Hold on. Just close your eyes for a second. Does this guy almost sound like Forethought? Am I crazy?
Educated Americans, less so by those without a college degree, who are
Right? Holy shit. Hold on, listen. No shot you can't say this doesn't sound like Forethought.
educated Americans, Less so by those without a college degree.
Abso-fucking-lutely. Absolutely. Absolutely he does.
Who are more likely to experience the downsides of the drug trade.
Give me somebody like a YouTube video of him. Forethought Destiny.
I've declared war on the Destiny sub shit. Okay, so priorities making sure the subreddit stays up. So
listen to him. Listen to him.
I clap down on that shit.
Listen to him.
And my first priority is making
on.
sure the subreddit stays up. So I clap down on that shit.
Listen to him.
By those without a college degree, who are more likely to experience the downsides of the drug trade.
He's got like a better mic here, but come on.
Okay, so to be clear.
Not him. Hold on.
Yeah. We're talking about shared posting in the Harry. Okay, then so you ban those people. Yeah.
This isn't a good example. Trust me, they're identical.
My mom once tied me to a chair with a belt while she got high. And it's not just me. Since 2000, the number of foster kids has doubled due to parental drug use. Luxury beliefs are all over the place. Get rid of the SAT?
4 hours of my life down the drain.
SAT scores help underprivileged kids get into college. Reject marriage?
I find marriage completely pointless.
For poor kids, one of the strongest predictors of success is having married parents. As a kid, I would have done anything to have had 2 stable parents. There are 3 golden rules of luxury beliefs. Did you notice campus protesters acting like refugees?
Bro, when she made that, oh God. What did she call it when she was speaking? Did she say it's like humanitarian aid? Is that what she said? Am I making this up? Hold on. I don't want to mindfuck myself or something that didn't happen. College protester. Did she say that?
Whatever. Ivy Leaguer.
Police, that would be a great first step.
Why should the university be obligated to provide food to people who've taken over a building?
Well, first of all, we're saying that they're obligated to provide food to students who pay for a meal plan here.
But you mentioned that there was a request that food and water be brought in, unless I misunderstood.
To allow it to be brought in. I mean, well, I guess it's ultimately a question of what kind of community and obligation Columbia feels it has to its students. Do you want students to die of dehydration and starvation or get severely ill, even if they disagree with you? If the answer is no, then you should allow basic, I mean, it's crazy to say because we're on an Ivy League campus, but this is like basic humanitarian aid we're asking for. Like, could people please have a glass of water?
Luxury beliefs help many elites feel like they deserve what they have. After all, today's progressive activists are twice as likely than average to make over $100,000 a year.
Why are you doing this to me?
What's the source on that?
To make over $100,000 a year.
Why are you doing this to me? You stop!
By the looks of it, you would think these protesters were facing serious consequences.
This morning, police say at least 45 pro-Palestinian protesters were arrested at Yale University. Police say they were later released.
Yeah, they go into holding for like 30 minutes and then they get tossed because nobody gives a fuck.
Stakes are pretty low when you're released with no major penalties.
Deliver right here to the right. How am I going to get through?
The part that bothers me the most, when the privileged claim to fight for the underdog, but actually hurt them instead. Remember when an heir and his fellow vigilantes faced off with a janitor at Columbia? That was luxury beliefs in action. Privileged men wrestling a blue-collar worker, all in the name of the marginalized.
It's just scary, just thinking that you're locked in with a bunch of crazies.
Of course, not all protesters are super privileged.
I repeatedly said...
Okay, I'm sorry. His voice does not match his face at all, right?
That you're locked in with a bunch of crazies.
Of course, not all protesters are super privileged.
I repeatedly said that my family has been killed, and that is why I'm here. And as I was saying that through the megaphone, police officers snatched the megaphone out from my hand and threw it behind them.
And it's great that people with privilege care about injustice, but too many of these people don't know what they're protesting.
Among these white, woke, pampered children from wealthy families, there's a complete ignorance about the complexities of this issue.
Luxury belief activists turn causes into props that transfer attention to where students really want it, on themselves.
Do you want students to die of dehydration and starvation? This is like basic humanitarian aid we're asking for. Like, could people please have a glass of water?
Please.
Here's what protests look like without luxury beliefs. The protesters of the 60s had more skin in the game, yet almost always practiced nonviolence. Sure, no movement has been perfect. But today's students oversimplify complex geopolitical issues into narratives of good versus evil while destroying property and harassing people along the way. So, how should they protest? Amplify the stories of everyone except yourself. Amplify the stories of victims. And if taking a stand means you don't get a degree or a job, don't protest the consequences. Accept them. Instead, when Savior Theater is done for the day, campus protesters have the best luxury of all: someone else cleaning up the mess.
A quiet and mostly empty UCLA campus except for cleanup crews after the pre-dawn crackdown.
Wow. Like, epic opinion piece. Also, yes, I know. Candace Owens is a Nazi. Yes, she's been doing this Nazi bend for like over a year now, I think.
Case is, in this case, is Germany, Nazi, Hitler, the greatest evil that's ever happened on Earth, even though factually and statistically it is not. And part of that learning process for me when I started looking into it was coming across a huge fact.
Started looking into it.
That we ethnically, the Allies, ethnically cleansed 12 million Germans. Because when you say to people, okay, what is it about?
I think it was like 16, wasn't it? But I don't know.
Hitler. Why is he the most evil? Well, the first thing people would say is, well, an ethnic cleansing almost took place. And now I offer back, you mean like we actually did in this?
Oh, wait, never mind. I'm sorry. I thought she was referring to when all the Germans got kicked out of where they had lived after World War II. She's just talking about people getting killed. So she thinks ethnic cleansing is just killing people? Or, wait, deaths World War II. Is she not? Yeah, wait, actually, I have no idea how many fucking German soldiers died. That number sounds high, but a lot of people died. Who knows? Let's check. Why? Okay, it was almost 8 million. Damn. Damn! That's over 10% of the population. God damn. Poor Poland.
A huge fact that we...
Her career has to be spiraling now. She's trying to lean harder into the extremist script. She was doing this before. Hello. Didn't we talk about this? I feel like nobody believed me on the porn stuff. When she was tweeting out things, and she was like... when she was tweeting out things, she was like, who was the person that made porn popular in the United States? These are all Nazi dog whistles, right? All of these are like common Nazi, like, oh, porn is propagated by Jewish people to weaken the white man and all that. Yeah.
Ethnically, the Allies, ethnically cleansed 12 million Germans. Because when you say to people, okay, what is it about Hitler? Why is he the most evil? Well, the first thing people would say is, well, an ethnic cleansing.
How do you explain how Sneeko and Hassan both are on the same side regarding Palestine? How could two opposing sides agree so hard on this? Maybe we'll get to it in a year, however long it takes us to work through all of our stuff. But the very, very, very little I understand of pre-World War II Germany is that it seems similar to that, and that you have a liberal world order, and because things are going okay for a bit, but there's some discontent, as the discontent grows, people look at the liberal world order, they don't understand any of the good they get from it, they just have like complaints about some of the bad things, and then this causes people to veer off on extreme sides on both ends. In Germany, it was the Communist Party, that I think was the KPD, and then it was also the Nazi Party, which was the Nazi Socialist Party. At times they worked together, at times they fought, but both of them agreed that they wanted to get rid of the basically the liberals at the time. But I think that a lot of it stems from kind of like a discontent with the status quo, because for some reason we have a really hard time defending or justifying the status quo. I don't know why that is the case, but...
Almost took place. And now I offer back, you mean like we actually did in this case is...
Actually, yeah. Actually, I'm sorry. Let me re-qualify that. That's not really fair. I shouldn't say that Germany was fine before World War II. I don't think they were after World War I. Germany was kind of fucked after World War I. That's not a fair characterization of Germany. But what was the actual name of the Nazi Party? I have no idea. Wasn't it just the National Socialist Party? Wasn't that their name? Or was it the National Socialist Workers Party? The National Socialist German Workers' Party, or the NASDAQ. Holy shit. Nice. Good clip. Seeing Lauren freaking out about French far-right communists and far-left extremists take over French government. I don't know anything about French politics. I don't know if she knows anything about French politics. I have no interest. I've only read like memes about it, so I don't know how true the memes are. The memes that I've read are supposedly Macron was in a bad spot. Calling an election was suicide, and it would have like all but guaranteed that the far right were going to have a huge takeover in France. But he called the election anyway, and they got utterly annihilated. I don't know enough about. Those are like the memes I've read. That's it. Okay, hey, all right, we've moved on from Israel-Palestine. I mean, largely. That doesn't mean that we can start posting memes of like European shit. I don't know a single one of these people. I don't even want to admit to the ones that I know here. There has to be like a European to American ratio for memes that we're posting on the subreddit. Okay, this is just way too much. All right, there's no reason for this to be in a USA subreddit. This is absurd. Okay. Holy Christ. What is happening here? Unironically, try to name all the people in that meme. Honestly, I think I don't know. This is our Boris Johnson guy. Is that Cameron? I think, yeah. I have no idea other than that. I think those two. That's all I got. I don't know what any of these other fuckers look like. I don't even know if I'd recognize the names if I heard them. In the middle are the Tories. Oh. Which one is Blair? Okay, it is Tony Blair. Damn, I didn't know he looked like that. Is he this guy? Damn, why does he look so fucking mad? Because he's British. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. Somebody asked me about kids protesting Vietnam. I'm going to be honest. My opinion on Vietnam is neutral right now. I try not to have a strong opinion about anything unless I've read a lot about it, because I realized how little I knew before. And how little apparently everybody else knows sometimes, so I'll reserve judgment.
Was saying, but then Destiny's pretty morbid, and that's cool and all. He destroyed both my relationships.
Bayzed.
Steven destroyed your relationship.
Both of them.
Wait, Steven did or Kelly did? I thought you were blaming Kelly earlier.
Yeah, that was a joke. Steven did, and that's cool because he called out Sneeko so many times. He embarrassed Sneeko, and that's why Sneeko had to dump me, because he was so embarrassed because Destiny won. And then with like Darius, like, to be honest, because I trust Destiny so much, him saying things like when he was like, oh, Darius doesn't want to be in a relationship with you, he's trying to find a way out. Well, now today I realize, okay, maybe that's not true at all, because he did come back to the relationship and he has done many things to try to make it work. I was problematic with like my emotions and dealing with the seeds that like was planted in my head. Like I believed it. Like I was believing he don't love me, he doesn't care about me. Honestly, a lot.
Wait, have I made this prediction yet? So I can claim going back further in time? If not, then I will stake my claim right now. Xena and Darius will be back and forth for at least 3 more years. They will never have a healthy relationship, though. I don't know if I stake that claim out prior to that, then extend that into the past, but that'd be my guess.
You said no to this girl.
MrBeast plan to save America. If we lower the age to run for president, I'll jump in the race. If I were president, I wouldn't care about party lines. I'd just always truly make the American people my #1 priority. For problems I'm ignorant in, I'd have experts from the left and right advise me on them and try to find the middle ground that's best for America. Wouldn't be viable. Don't care about doing things just because my party says I should. And I would focus on uniting the country instead of dividing it. Anyways, we can pick this up in 15 years and I'm old enough to run. He's so smart. So selfless. I wish we had somebody that was good enough to put the people first and not just listen to their parties. A true God among men. A true God among men. A time traveler tells you that one of Xena and Darius killed the other one. You have to place a bet on who killed who. What's your bet? Since Xena is the one that has the higher investment, she would be the one more likely to kill Darius. That'd be my guess.
But yeah, Melena's definitely, taken indefinite break from coming on the stream. So, but she still will be helping behind the scenes. She says that she still wants to plan stuff. So all those big events, like Wild West that we saw, so all that stuff should still be there. Good for her, sad for us. Yeah, for sure. Actually, this isn't the joke. But yeah, Melena's definitely
Okay. Wow. I don't think Elon Musk actually reads Twitter. I think he has a bot or someone else on the account, or somebody just links him like a thing, or like tweet about like this is interesting. I don't believe he actually reads any of this shit. I don't believe it.
There is something that your daddy and I...
There's something that Mummy and me want to...
We want to talk to you about. It's a bit serious, though.
What's happened to my underwear?
Oh, I literally have no idea.
So sorry, but do we know each other?
Yeah, no.
Wait. Andrew Garfield isn't another fucking skinwalker, is he? Oh, he's another fucking impersonator. Wait, how many of these people are there? You can't play. How can you play American military people? How can you do that? What was the name of that stupid... This has to be like... Everybody on set should be shaking in anger that this guy's walking around pretending to be an American soldier. Oh, wait, were these guys American in Hacksaw Ridge? I actually have no idea. I haven't watched this movie.
Okay.
You're safe.
officer, how says the defendant. I thought this was agreed. You wanted to enter some sort of plea.
Yes, sir, but I changed my mind.
Just like that. You wish to proceed to a court-martial.
Yes, sir.
Wait, is he trying to? And he's trying to sound like a Southerner, fucking American too?
For the accused.
As a bonger?
No, sir, I don't.
Why are you contesting it then? Why is it so important to you, given your refusal to be?
Sorry, back to this.
I ran you over.
Sorry. That's all right.
I'm Alma, by the way.
Tobias.
We're gonna make sure you have the time of your life.
Hi.
Hi. Probably ought to get going.
Who says? Unless you have shit to do, then.
I have nothing. Whether we like it or not, clock is ticking.
What's the rush?
Because I'm worried that there's a very distinct and real possibility that I am about to fall in love with you.
I'm okay. It's okay, honestly. It's okay not to be okay. It's a lot.
Whoa! Oh.
Show me how to
I'm not interested in a treatment that accidentally wastes our time.
Why are you taking the risk?
Oof. Okay, no, I can't watch this. It sounds like she, what, they have a kid and then she gets cancer and dies? Oof. Too sad. Okay. Back to the memes. I feel like that would be excruciatingly painful to be in love with somebody and then you have a kid and then that person dies and you have like that child. I guess it's like a bright thing, but it's also like a mindfuck thing at the same time. Oof. You listen to the new Toei album? Nope. Jesus. Ah! Okay.
That's fucked up.
It's not fucked up. Listen, what's fucked up? Listen, let me ask you a question, Jason. Let me ask you a question,
I'll
okay?
hear you out.
If you got a big ass green piece of lettuce stuck in your teeth, right? Is it fucked up if I tell you to go clean that up, or should I let you, walk around with it, smile around? Every chick sees a big green piece of fucking lettuce in your teeth. Is that okay? Is that fucked up? No, it's not. I should tell you as your friend, right?
What the fuck is he talking about?
Right?
No, that made sense though.
Yeah,
that made sense.
Yeah. You gotta tell me. You gotta tell me. You gotta tell me. Yeah, there's a lettuce in my. Yeah. That's fucked up.
Okay. Is XQC coming out anything else tonight? You're supposed to be, yeah. The twist is children are the real cancer. True.
I'm impressed by your abilities and your sense of justice. If you promise not to tell anyone about this, I have important information concerning the Kira investigation that I'd like to share with you.
Where's this coming from? And who is he? Is it safe to just ignore him? But I wonder what this information actually is. I won't tell anyone. What is it?
This is gonna be retarded.
Kira says what? What?
It was retarded. Okay.
Is it true that the EPA has never obtained formal authorization legislation from Congress?
I'm sorry?
Is it true that the EPA has never obtained formal legislation, authorization legislation from Congress?
Oof. So we know, okay, since we've been reading Supreme Court cases and looking up stuff we don't understand, that every single agency that exists in the executive should be expressly authorized by some statute from Congress. So the idea that an executive agency exists without congressional authorization doesn't make any sense, unless I'm missing something. So we should be able to we should be able to type in founding of EPA, and we should be able to get Congress authorized the creation of this office by this particular statute or whatever, is what we should be able to see. So the Environmental Protection Agency is an independent agency of the United States government tasked with environmental protection. President Richard Nixon proposed the establishment of the EPA in 1970. But Nixon signed an executive order. Well, that's interesting. Hold on, let's check. Do you think black bongers have less justification for the N-word than black Americans? Yes. Wait, last sentence. Wait. The order establishing the EPA was ratified by committee hearings in the House Senate. This doesn't change it, though. Reorganization Plan number 3 of 1970. Our national government. Is this all published by Nixon? Special mention from the President of the Congress, or from the President to the Congress. Okay. Oh, okay. So he's moving a bunch of other agency functions. The goal is to move it to another agency. And then reorganize it under the EPA with a broader mandate. Functions of the EPA would include... Oh, okay. But this is essentially what we're looking for. Okay, so it was ratified by the Congress. It was just proposed by Nixon. I guess there's nothing wrong with that. The president can propose the creation of an agency, but ultimately the office has to be authorized by Congress for the establishment of said office. So Section 1, establishment of the agency. It was hereby established the Environmental Protection Agency, herein referred to as the agency. Okay. But this has to be... Source, U.S. Code, Congressional Administration. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So he proposed the establishment of it, and then and Congress created it. Okay, never mind. Okay. I thought for a second there was like, did Nixon create his own office? I don't think the president can do that. But okay, so so ordinary business as usual. All right.
That the EPA has never obtained formal legislation, authorization legislation from Congress.
Wait, any plans for public debates with fans? I'd love to discuss climate change solutions with you. Why people like JP focuses on it like it's the devil. I don't have a huge interest in climate change right now, but we'll see.
It's never been authorized by Congress.
Okay. So it took us a little bit longer, but what she's saying appears to not be true because this reorganization plan right here, I'm assuming was... I want to understand the structure of like the U.S. code and everything better. So this is the Code of Federal Regulations. Regulations should come from laws, from statutes. Okay, so Statement of Organization, Journal Information. So this is the creation of the EPA. The authority to create the EPA is sourced from someplace in here. Fuck that. Okay. Pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 9 of Title 5 of the United States Code, the U.S. Code should represent every statute or law created and passed by Congress, I believe, correct? The United States Code is the official codification of the general and permanent federal statutes of the United States. So no regulations, which is how the executive branch enforces law, but just the passage of law a passage of law itself. Okay, let me just. Read the entire code. Yeah. Okay, so Nixon proposed an executive reorganization that consolidated many environmental responsibilities of the federal government under one agency, a new EPA. The proposal included merging pollution control programs, blah, 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 from these other departments. After conducting hearings during the summer, the House and Senate approved the proposal. The EPA was created 90 days before it had to operate and officially opened its doors on December 2nd, 1970. Okay, after conducting hearings during that summer, the House and Senate approved the proposal. If they approve the proposal, we should be able to find the establishment of the of the EPA in the U.S. Code somewhere, right? So technically, Congress authorized the office first, and Nixon just reorganized it, right? No. It sounds like what happened was we didn't have like a dedicated office for the environment, but there were a bunch of other offices that kind of were tasked with some environmental things. So, for instance, like we might like the Interior might do like water regulations, and some other thing might do like air pollution. But Nixon was like, we should just have all of this should just be under one thing, and it would be dedicated for the environment. And then once we have that, he made that proposal, and then Congress was like, yeah, okay, sounds like a good idea, and then Congress authorizes it. Although there also might be some special executive authority granted by Congress to create an office if it's a reorganization of other offices into it, maybe? Maybe? The Reorganization Plan number 3 of 1970. Public Law and Act. Be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that the President, by and with the advice and consent of the Senate, may appoint 3 assistant administrators of the Environmental Protection Agency in addition to 5. Okay, so then this is them. Yeah, so this did get approval from the House and the Senate, which makes sense. I think it's supposed to, unless there's a special carve-out for reorganization. Also, generally, your officers, meaning the heads of your offices, I think are always done with Senate approval, unless maybe Congress explicitly says it doesn't have to be. Congress might be able to delegate that power away, but I think it's ordinary that officers are always with the advice and consent of the Senate, that the Senate has to vote to approve officers, also called cabinet members. I don't know why they're called cabinet members. I don't know why you wouldn't just call them officers, but... Was Nixon's executive order just a proposal then? No, I don't believe it was an executive order. I don't think so, even though it used that language. So President Nixon proposed the establishment of the EPA on July 9th, and then it began operation on December 2nd after Nixon signed an executive order. It sounds like he signed an order to like begin the function of the administration or something, but he didn't create it with an executive order. He made this proposal, and then Congress approved the proposal, and then it began operating. Yeah, it sounds like that's what happened. Cabinet level officials require Senate confirmation except for Chief of Staff and National Security Advisor. Is the Chief of Staff an officer, or is that just somebody to manage? Chief of Staff, Wikipedia. Why don't I just finish the video? Because I just want to fuck your mom. It's got 13 seconds left. Hold on. Chief, does the Chief of Staff, he's not the head of any particular office, is he? I thought he just like helps the president with shit. United States. Executive Office of the President. Chief of Staff, the highest ranking and usually highest paid legislative staffer in the office of a member of Congress. Wait, no, for the president. Congressional staff. No. Presidential staff. The Presidential Chief of Staff of the Philippines. United States White House Chief of Staff. Who joined? Who dare join my fucking...
You're looking for the White House Chief of Staff. If you Google it, it'll pull it up on Wiki.
Sorry, I can't hear you because your microphone is fucked and it's way too fucking quiet.
It is the White House Chief of Staff. If you wiki that, it'll bring you the article.
And he is the head of the Executive Office of the President of the United States. Oh, cute. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Was this made right at the founding, or no, this was formed in
No, this was like back in like the 30s. Yeah.
Okay. What are your opinions on the replacing Biden thing? Do you think they should?
Oh man, I have no attachment to the guy, and it seems like the evidence is mixed because there's some polls which indicate like people like Kamala Harris and others are in spitting distance of Biden's performance against Trump, and they lack all the advantages that Biden has, like the name recognition, the record, et cetera, and so forth. But there's also a real risk that the scrutiny associated with them would drag them down. I mean, Kamala Harris has never been particularly popular in the first place, and she's the only one who could get Biden's funding. So like the Biden-Harris campaign fundraising dwarfs the DNC's fundraising. And if she's not at the top of the ticket, like if Biden dips and she's not the replacement for the presidential slot, they lose all that funding. So I don't know, man. But I'm also not the optimist. Like IRI is still like, go Biden, go Biden, go Biden. I'm terrified.
Terrified. I still feel like Trump has a lot of unpopularity issues with not his core constituents.
Sure.
And
he hasn't really gained in that respect, according to the polls. I mean, some people say, oh, after the debate, Trump's been sweeping. Well, no, Trump's level of support is basically the same. It's just that Biden is losing support and not gaining the support he needs to win.
Yeah. I also have I have a feeling that hopefully there are still big motivators like abortion that are working irrespective of who the candidate is. But the thing that's kind of worrying me the most right now is I don't know who's attacking Biden more right now. I can't tell because of my media, just because of like the bubbles that I'm in. I can't tell if it's like actually conservatives or it's just a fuck ton of people on the left that want their own candidate in. One of the things that's driving me crazy, and I'll admit there might be Democrats that are making this like bow to the leader argument, and I just don't see them. But watching people like Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur like screeching over again, like, oh, we're not supposed to question authority. Oh, like they're screeching. And all I see when I see them say that is like, I really want my progressive candidate in. I really want my progressive candidate in. This is my moment. I can get, and like, is anybody actually chastising people for like considering other candidates because they think that we should have like supreme deference to Biden, or?
So I mean, you do get some of that. There are some like I got my ass chewed out because I did one postmortem debate video, and I began by saying that Biden had a shitty performance, and then I spent the vast majority of the video criticizing Trump because I thought that that was actually more substantive. He lied. He didn't answer questions directly. I mean, you watched the debate, and I felt that it was being glossed over. But I had people in my inbox and people in my mentions saying, "How dare you? I mean, we got to be loyal to Biden." It's like, no, I think it's fair to call a spade, and he had.
I was thinking. I just meant in terms of like the media. Like, are there big media heads?
I don't know if they're, well, yeah, there's some people like on MSNBC. I think like Lawrence O'Donnell's is one where he's just calmly criticizing Democrats for the infighting. But for the most part, I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, New York Times, CNN, MSNBC, the so-called liberal media. I mean, there's a lot of like debate, public debate. This story will not end.
Yeah.
I will say though, it's actually a lot of the progressives, believe it or not, have Biden's back. Bernie Sanders, AOC, Ilhan Omar. they have all publicly said that they back Biden and that Biden's their guy. And a lot of the calls among sitting members of Congress are actually coming from the more moderate members who are asking him to withdraw or proposing that he withdraw because they're worried that he's not only going to lose against Trump, but that he's going to be a drag on the down ballot races. So surprisingly, from what I've seen, it's the progressives who have rallied behind Biden more than the moderates. How's that for a surprise?
Well, I mean, the progressives have chilled a lot. I mean, I think that most of the online progressives don't even like those progressives anymore. Like,
fuck no.
Especially
No,
after a lot of the Israel stuff. Yeah. Oof. When AOC started tweeting about anti-Semitism, they were losing their fucking minds. Huh.
Yeah. And Anna Kasparian, I mean, I'm not a big fan of hers anyway because she wasn't going to vote for Biden in the first place. If you actually watch the Young Turks content at all, they are more critical of the Democrats even now.
1,000,000%, bro, over the Israel-Palestine stuff. And I couldn't get Cenk to admit it. I wish I had a clip, but I'm almost positive I've watched both of them talk about how they couldn't ever bring themselves to vote for like a genocide supporter or Genocide Joe. I think I've seen Emma Vinklin call him. Like, I don't think these people were ever voting for Biden ever, yeah. But
well, Anna definitely. Cenk may or may not have come out and said it, but I've seen clips where Anna said, and this was months ago, that she wasn't going to vote for Biden. I mean, she also bitches about Democrats when, in my opinion, she really has no merit to do so. So, like right now, for example, Republicans are in control of the House. So Democrats, and this is just simply the case, they do not have the power to even bring forth legislation. So she was complaining, why aren't House Democrats, why are they spending so much time dunking on Republicans in these hearings? Why aren't they bringing forth legislation that the American people want? And it's like, they don't have the number. They can't even bring it to the floor. You've covered this too, like the Senate Majority Leader in the Senate, that's the person responsible for calling forth legislation in hearings.
Yeah, and actually, and no one even gives a fuck, by the way, just to be clear, right? Because I'm pretty sure that in Pelosi's Congress 2 sessions ago, I think they passed more legislation on the floor than any Congress in the history of all. But who the fuck cares? Nobody talks about that. Nobody cares because obviously the Senate wasn't hearing any of it. So yeah, I don't know.
Right. Well, and also, I mean, this is the least productive iteration of Congress since Republicans took over, because even previously, like previous iterations of divided government, they were more willing to work with each other. But the Republican majority in the House, they look at any bipartisan bill as basically a win for Biden, including like keeping the government funded, right? Like keeping the lights on is seen as a victory for Biden. So it is the least productive iteration of Congress, I think, in recorded history, and certainly since the Great Depression. But Anna's, like, her criticisms are just wildly off base, because like the video was about Republicans were proposing bills to rename Dulles Airport in D.C. after Trump, and like the Gulf of Mexico after Trump too, like the near continental waters.
Okay.
And so Democrats proposed another piece of legislation. Obviously, again, it didn't go to the floor, but they were like, hey, how about we rename a Florida penitentiary after Trump instead, because that's where he'll go after his cases. And she was like, I can't believe the Democrats are making a mockery of all this. They should be actually working productively for the American people. It's like, you have no idea how government functions. And she's a political commentator, right? You would think that she would understand this shit. So I don't know, man. What are your, prior to this, I thought you were betting on Biden still winning. Has the debate and the fallout changed your views on this?
No, I still give Biden an edge. It's smaller now, though. I'm like 55% of my brain on it. But there just has to be another news story that has to come up. Somehow we went from other stuff. No, this whole media cycle has been so boring the past 6 months. I feel like it's been little bits of Ukraine. The majority has been Israel-Palestine, and then whatever random like domestic thing comes up for like 2 days.
Yeah. So about the economy, obviously
I've just lost all hope for Americans having any. I think that how good the economy is doing is just a function of who's in office and what media you listen to. I think it's about that.
Oh no, 100%. I mean, because there's an economist by the name of Paul Krugman. He's talked about this, and he's not the only one. But like there is a partisanship associated with like perceptions of the economy, and Democrats do it too. I'm not going to say it's
they do it too, but the YouGov.
But it is worse
conservatives are wow. It's hilarious how different that economy looks as soon as there's a conservative in office. It's fucking hilarious.
So do you bet, assuming that things trend exactly the way they have been, that if Trump wins the election like 20 days after he's inaugurated, those same, conservatives bitching about the economy, if nothing else changes, it's just the trends going as they are, will suddenly say that Trump has pulled us from the precipice of an economic disaster?
Am I making this up? I thought I saw conservative, or maybe it was Trump himself, saying that the reason why the economy was starting to recover under Biden is because companies were assuming that Trump was going to win the next election.
Yeah.
Did Trump say that, or was there a comment? Yeah, okay, yeah.
No, so both. So you had Larry Kudlow, who was an ex financial advisor in the Trump administration. He's now a Fox News host. He was also trying to give credence to this, but I think it was a couple of months ago after the stock market. It was either the S&P 500 or the Nasdaq or the Dow. One of them like blew up, like it was an unprecedented end of day closing or whatever. And Trump was all over social media. He's like, the stock market is doing well because they know that I'll be elected in November. And you had some people on Fox News kind of suggesting the same thing. It's stupid. You also have him trying to take credit for the jobs too. Like he's like, this is all the bounce back effect. But I mean, even if you control for COVID, Steve Ratner and a bunch of other economists and financial advisors and analysts have like covered this. Like even if you control for COVID job loss under Trump and COVID job recovery under Biden, the average number of jobs created under Biden per month is like 280,000 compared to like 180,000 under Trump. So Biden's record is still better. But yeah, to your point, I mean, I don't know. I think it's vibes now. I'm like Will Stansel pilled on this. I think that it's all about vibes. But what I was going to say was the chairman of the Fed is hinting that there actually may be interest rate cuts this year. Like they hinted at it last year, and then they kind of took it off the table. And
no, I don't think so. But we'll see.
You don't think so?
The problem is that the cumulative inflation has been so high that even if the rates have fallen, remember when we talk about inflation, it's just a rate of change, right?
Right.
So if inflation was like 15% for a year, and then next year it goes down to 1%, you like people often say like, oh look, we fixed inflation, but they're talking about the rate of change of the inflation. You still have that 15% inflation. The cumulative inflation is still something you're dealing with. So the idea that as soon as we get inflation down to like 2%, that the Fed is just going to start slashing rates again, it seems really dumb to me, especially when your unemployment is still so low as well. Like it's not like we've got like increased unemployment and like we need to start like pumping money into the economy. I would hope that they would keep rates high. But fuck. The problem is like Americans are so like economically stupid. So the issue is that like people want everything at the same time. So people will complain. So like for instance, people complain about Americans, probably everybody in the world, complain about issues that push in both directions in contrary ways. So Americans will say things like housing is unaffordable and we need to lower rates, understanding that like or not understanding that like, okay, well, upward interest rates should be putting downward pressure on housing prices. If you want to drop interest rates again to make quote unquote homes affordable, it's going to put upward pressure on home prices. So a decrease in interest rates should theoretically increase housing prices. Same thing with like student loan debt forgiveness, right? I can't afford a home. I need to get rid of my debt. It's like, okay, well, if you get rid of all student loan debt, that's way more upward pressure on housing prices. But people seem to want all of it at the same time. And yeah, it's just not possible. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Powell didn't come out and explicitly confirm it. This is just like people reading the tea leaves based on congressional testimony he offered, like I think it was yesterday or the day before, talking about how it's not just, what did he say? Something like it's that there was considerable progress and in elevated inflation isn't the only concern that they have at this point. They're worried about the unemployment rate increasing. Even though it is relatively low, I think it's still like 4.1%. I'll send you the link. I've got it somewhere.
Because it was sub 4 for a while, unemployment rate.
Yeah, I think it ticked up in July to 4.1, which is still,
okay.
I mean,
I think theoretically it's supposed to be between 5 to 5.5. I think it's what the Fed shoots for. But okay, damn.
As far as all this stuff, I sent you a link. I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at it, but I thought you said a couple of days ago you were looking for like a legal eagle thing on Chevron. He dropped one.
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, you did? Okay. Okay. Cool. All right, buddy. Well, listen, you have a great rest of your day.
I love you. Be careful.
Love you too. Bye.
Pisco. Oh, he came in here just to mute his microphone and taunt us. Russell Brand is such a fucking moron. Yeah, we know. Interest rates are not relevant when we were talking about housing prices being unaffordable. If rates come down, prices will inevitably rise faster, leading to the exact same situation as beforehand. Oh, I think you were agreeing with me in a strange way. you think there's an actual plan to replace Biden? I mean, I'm sure they've discussed it. God, it's just so much. It would just be so crazy.
Hey, you asked for me.
Oh my God, he's pissing. Hello?
What's up?
What are you doing? Are you
Can
okay?
you hear me?
Yeah?
Yeah, there's some construction going on. I don't know if you can hear it.
Jesus.
This could be your home. You could live here.
Are you in your house right now and there's just that noise?
I'm moving in between different places. You know, lawyers were always on the move, you know?
Okay.
So when my boy calls me and he says, you know, fuck, you know?
Okay.
So what's good?
Oh, nothing. I just wanted to vent.
Yeah, tell me.
Well, now that we are, we've been, fuck, your background noise is killing me. Oh no, it was just over the 14th Amendment stuff. We read through the Brown v. Board decision yesterday. That's like
You read through Brown v. Board?
Wait, hello?
You read through Brown v. Board?
Yeah, it's like 14 pages, right?
Yeah, but I didn't see you do that.
Yeah. Okay, wait. Here, hold on. We'll chat later, okay? Holy shit, I'm gonna kill myself. It is the most cancerous I've ever heard in my entire life. I'm gonna kill myself. Okay. But I love you. Yeah, we can talk later. Okay, love you. Okay. Could you please explain the connection between housing prices and student loans? Yeah. I feel like this gets like talked about a lot, but nobody. But I don't know how many people understand this. I've never taken a formal econ class, so if I get this wrong, feel free to correct me. Okay, look, this is how the whole world works. This is all of economics right here. Boom. The whole of economics is right here. This is it. Okay, this is all you have to know. I'm just kidding. I don't know how they normally label one. Actually, I don't think it matters so much. But this curve right here, or I'm sorry, this line segment is the hold on. It's like the quantity of goods produced. We'll say supply, okay? This is your, wait, actually we can do this really easily. Okay, hold on. This is number of units. This is number of units, and then this is cost. Oh man, I'm sure they label these way different. I don't care, okay? This line right here is demand, okay? When the price is very, very, very low, the, oh wait, shit, hold on. Let's wipe this out. Okay, boom. There we go, okay. All right, we did it, okay. When the price of a thing is very, very, very low, okay. No, wait, oh fuck, that was right. I'm fucking my mind. Hold on. Don't worry, we'll figure this out. Come back in 30 seconds. Let's make this one price. This looks better. And then this is the number, okay. Okay. When the price of a thing, right here, this axis, is very low, then the number of things. Wait, why am I fucking my mind up? This point up here would be a high price and a low number. Oh, yeah, okay. Right? Okay. It's been too long since I've drawn a graph. Holy shit. Okay. When the cost of a particular good is very, very, very high, the quantity of a good demanded is very low, right? So let's imagine that we walk into a store and Coca-Cola is being sold here at $5 million a can, right? So if we do this, then we would never want to buy, like only one guy's ever going to buy that Coke can, right? The price right here is very high, okay? And then the number, the quantity demanded is very low, okay? Some people might label these differently and draw it, but it's the same concept, okay? Down here, let's say that you are let's say that you're a supplier, okay? If the price of a particular thing is very low, you're not going to want to make very many of those things, or maybe none of it, right? In real life, by the way, these lines are not perfectly equal, but so down here, when you supply a given thing, if the price is very, very low for that good or service, you're not going to want to supply very much of it, right? And then if you go to the other end here, right? Let's say that let's say that the price of a thing is very, very, very high, right? Well, you want to make lots of those things, assuming, you know, there's profit and all that shit, blah, blah. We're going, okay. And then along this axis here, right? If the cost of a thing is very, very, very low, then as a consumer, you'd want to buy a ton of it, right? Okay, so talking through both of these real quick. Okay, so the quantity supplied by a producer down here moves up along this axis as the price increases, okay? You're telling me you're gonna, Coke sells for $1 a can, I'm not making any of it. Fuck that, all right? But then you come up here and you're telling me I can sell $1 billion for one Coke can, I'm making so many of these cans, okay? So you're gonna supply more and more and more of a thing, depending on the price. But a consumer, right, the demand for that, demand is always spoken about, or should be spoken about, I believe, or no, I can't make any strong statements. I sound fucking retarded. Demand, oftentimes, at least in theoretical models, is spoken about demand at a given price, because demand will change responsive to prices, depending on elasticity. That doesn't matter right now, okay? So let's say that $1 billion Coke can is up here, right? It costs $1 billion. You're not going to want to buy any of them. Then you go all the way down here, and the Coke can is 1 cent. You're going to want to buy a ton of them, okay? Somewhere, there is a quantity demanded that consumers have at a given price that matches, there's going to be some intersection here with the quantity produced by a given supplier, right? At that point here, right, you call this market equilibrium. This is the point at which the market settles. If suppliers were to create more than this, if the number were to increase, then that would mean that the price would have to go down because consumers aren't going to buy more, right? If they were, let's say that the supplier wants to make, if this, there are ways to draw like all sorts of cute little things. If the supplier is making a ton of things down over here, right? Like the cost is high, or the cost is the same, but they're making more of a given thing. Consumers aren't going to buy that much because consumers don't have the money or the desire, or whatever. They're not gonna buy over here, right? I feel like I didn't explain this very well. I think that makes sense, right? Did this make sense? Sure, no, yes, no. Okay, good enough. Okay. All right. There are different things that you can do when in order to change where these particular lines go, okay? So, okay, let's see if we can do this. For instance, let's say that we want to sell electric vehicles, okay? But let's say that a consumer, okay, so hold on, wait, let's erase parts of this. I think realistically, I think your supply is probably going to look, for your producers, they're not perfect lines, right? How do they draw these in textbooks? They must have like modified lines, because I imagine in the real world, what a supply line is going to look like is you're not going to want to produce anything at a given price. And then once that price reaches a certain point, then you're going to want to start to produce. But maybe that's like up here, right? And then the line goes like this, right? But let's say that you're like, your consumer demand is never going to want to purchase anything like up here, right? So at a certain dollar amount, producers will produce a given thing, but that dollar amount is too high. So your consumption, you don't hit like a good market equilibrium, meaning maybe some consumers will buy it, but like most people don't. So what you want to do is you want to make it easier to produce a given thing. So you can provide like a subsidy, and what the subsidy does is the subsidy brings down the cost. It would shift down this whole producer thing, right? So we could bring, so rather than having like, I think like this type of thing, we can have like this type of thing, right? Because we've shifted the whole line down because we're providing a subsidy, which is moving this line down because we made it cheaper to manufacture a given thing, I think. Okay. Or on the flip side, instead of providing a subsidy to the manufacturer, we could shift the demand line up, right? And we could say that we're going to give a tax credit to somebody that purchases a particular thing, and that would cause this whole line to move up a bit, right? Well, before, a consumer would buy an electric car if it was $100, but not if it was $1,000. But if I tell a consumer, okay, well, hey, what if I give you a $900 tax credit if you buy it? Well, okay, it's $1,000. I'm only willing to spend $100, but if I get a $900 tax credit, yeah, I'll buy it now, right? So you're shifting the, you're moving the line up, right? Okay, I think I could have explained this a lot more succinctly. It makes sense, I promise. All this to say that if we look at housing, if we look at housing prices and you look at the supply of housing and you look at the demand for housing, if you were to, actually, I don't even need to draw these lines. Fuck this. I should work with these a lot more because it would help my understanding a bit more or be able to explain it better. Actually, no. You know what? You should be able to move the lines around on a supply and demand graph because it really helps you understand, I think, like what is actually happening when certain things are happening in the market. So let's say that our, can I select this line? No, fuck, whatever. Let's say that this is the quantity supplied, right? So as the price increases, we're supplying more, and this is the quantity demanded, right? So the problem with forgiving student loan debt is that if we forgive student loan debt, what we're doing is we're increasing the money available to these people. So look at what happens, okay? This line is going to go straight up, all right? But when this line goes up, okay, it's going up, 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 up. Look at what's happening to the equilibrium point, right? As the line goes up, because these people now have more money, right? You've got the more money. As more money is happening, the market equilibrium is hitting a different spot because consumers are willing to pay more because they have more money available to them. However, in the housing markets, the supply is relatively fixed, meaning consumers cannot produce the same amount of a good or service in response to a demand to hit this equilibrium point. So if they can't do that, then what happens is the demand for the existing stock, the existing supply increases, the supply remains fixed, so the cost increases. So the new market equilibrium is just a higher cost for the same number of goods and services. Does that make sense? Did that make sense? I feel like I kind of sort of explained that. So like I imagine if you were to draw like a supply, if you were to draw a supply thing for homes, it would probably look something like how would we draw this? So the number is always going to be somewhat fixed. It's going to look something like this is my guess. Something like this. Am I correct here? It's not, functions only go one way, my friends. So the issue is that if consumers have this amount of money, your ability to make more houses, like let's say that this is our equilibrium point, right? As you increase the money supply available, at some point, I don't even know where the equilibrium is right now. I should have drawn this a little differently, right? As the money increases here and the ability to make more of a supply here, like is capped, right, artificially, because you can only build so much. The only thing that happens is prices steeply climb, and that's it. And they climb very steeply. They're more steeply than if it was like than if they were able to keep up with the new demand. Fuck. Does that make sense? Okay. The technical term is short-run supply curve versus long-run supply curve. Okay. Whatever. Anyways, all this to say, if there were 1,000 houses available and a bunch of people are complaining that they can't afford those 1,000 houses. If you give all of those people more money in the form of student loan debt forgiveness, and they go look at those 1,000 houses again, well, now the people selling the homes are looking at people with a lot more money who are willing to spend more money. So the price of those homes is going to increase. And now the people that have more money are complaining because, wait, what the fuck? Why are the prices going up? Well, it's because you guys all have more money now, so you're willing to pay more for them, right? The equilibrium point is increasing. There you go. Ugh, okay. Maybe you should review the episode of DuckTales dealing with the negative consequences of inflation. Is that a real episode of DuckTales? Testing, there are good arguments for cutting rates. For example, most current inflation is caused by housing prices, and in order to build, you rely on high debt through instruments like mortgages. Hence, high rates reduce housing supply, leading to increased inflation. Potentially, yeah. There is... Cutting rates can have pressure in both ways as well. So, for instance, if mortgage rates decrease, then the demand, because remember, the quantity demanded will increase as the cost decreases, right? Like, let's say that I go to the store and I want to spend $5 on Coke. Let's say a Coke is $5. Let's say the next day Coke is $2.50. Well, fuck it, I'm going to buy 2 Cokes. The quantity demanded at a given price, the quantity demanded changes as the price changes, assuming there's some elasticity in the good. We're not talking about inelastic goods. Permaban, anybody that brings up inelastic goods, okay? So if so for homes, if the interest rate goes down, then that means that more people should theoretically want to buy them because the money is cheaper. However, there's a countervailing force here as well. As interest rates go down, more people want to buy homes. Wait, was it just the construction argument? But more people are also building homes as well? And then as interest rates go up, people should theoretically want to buy fewer homes. Oh, but there's that too. If interest rates go up, for instance, so let's say interest rates go up, that would bring prices... because interest rates are going up, the cost of housing would go up, the demand would go down, but as demand falls, the price will also fall. There's countervailing forces in this too. Sorry, interest rates are also complicated, or housing is complicated because there's a lot of weird market forces at play. Because you have somewhat inelastic demand, everybody needs a place to live. They don't necessarily need a mortgage though, so there's substitution effects to where you could rent a house or you could rent an apartment instead of buying a house. So you've got a type of inelastic demand for a class of goods for housing, but there's elasticity within within that class because you could get an apartment, you could get a house, or you could rent a house, and then you've got interest rates, so people are borrowing money, so that that factors in as well, and then you've got a fixed supply of housing to some extent because you can't build infinite houses because the land is limited. Fuck houses, okay? I don't remember what the point of all this was. Oh, yeah. More money to students means housing prices, all else equal, will probably increase. That was the point. There you go. We answered that question. It only took us 30 minutes.
EPA is not authorized by Congress?
I'm asking you.
I thought EPA was authorized by Congress.
Well, the EPA is not. The EPA has never been formally authorized by Congress.
What is the, wait. Boebert, EPA questions Congress. Authorized. Where's this full video? What does this come from? Is there like a C-SPAN link to this? This just happened today. Was this on like C-SPAN or something? Over on 4chan, they call you Fedstiny. Were you aware? They say a bunch of retarded shit on 4chan. The most likely person to be a Fed are some of those alt-righters that were at the Jan 6 stuff and somehow never got arrested, despite the fact that they were on camera being seen screaming, like, storm the building. Nick Fuentes. Thank you for giving me an econ hard on. Love this shit. Wish I had found out I was ADHD back in high school so I could have pursued my PhD in econ like I wanted to. What did you get a PhD in instead, my friend? Why build more housing when you can just subsidize demand? What is this? This is the most California story ever. To help the housing crisis, they budgeted $300 million to pay for first-time home buyers' down payments. In less than 2 weeks, they ran out of money and only helped 2,300 people. $300 million, 2,300 people helped. Jesus. How? I'm sorry, am I mind fucking myself on the math here? Is this $100,000 per person, or am I missing a zero there? $100,000 times 2,300. Jeez. Wait, are they subsidizing like the entire down payment? What the fuck? Have you ever been approached by a woman in public for the purpose of dating? Not in any circumstance that would be relatable to an ordinary person. But also, I never go out. 20 minutes behind the VOD, but you aren't correct about the Fed's approach to inflation. The Fed doesn't care about cumulative inflation, as you called it, or the price level. They target the inflation rate at 2%. There are good reasons for this. Okay. That might be true. This must be why you're a progressive who wants higher taxes, but wants to live in a low-tax state. I don't think I've ever in my life said I want higher taxes. Ever. I don't think I've ever said that. I don't know if I've ever made that prescription or claimed that's a thing that I desire, ever, in anything I've ever said in the last, 5 years. Stare, you don't want higher spending. If there are programs that I like, then yeah, you can have higher spending, and you need sometimes more taxes to pay for it. But that's not the same as saying that you want higher taxes, right? I feel like you're doing the connector thing in your mind without realizing it. Like if somebody is like if somebody's like, oh, like there's a PR that I'm really trying to, or a PB I'm really trying to push past, like I really want to be able to bench or squat or whatever. Like, would you look at a person and go like, ooh, you want to spend more time in the gym? Ugh, you want to go to the gym that much more? It's like, well, no, not really. But like, that's the thing that you have to do to effect the other thing at the end. Here's the timestamp for the hearing. What a shit argument. You do want higher taxes, not for the sake of higher taxes, but in effect you do. I guess. I don't know if you can transfer desires like that. So for instance, let's say that a person has cancer and they need to do chemotherapy. Would you say that that person wants to be sick and nauseous all the time? What?
5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Administrator Regan, is it true that the EPA has never obtained formal authorization legislation from Congress?
I'm sorry?
Is it true that the EPA has never obtained formal legislation, authorization legislation from Congress?
I feel like the spending is already implied. Obviously, no one just wants taxes for their own sake. I disagree. I think when progressives and shit talk about taxation, from the way that I hear it, and I could be wrong, but it sounds like to them, taxes are a punishment to be levied upon billionaires and the wealthy to punish them for their wealth. That's what it sounds like to me. When I hear about progressives talk about taxes, I usually hear it in terms like, you need to pay your fair share, or the American public team, you need to give back to the American public. It comes from this like very like scolding, like accusatory perspective. That's what it feels like to me. And then when conservatives talk about taxes, yeah, they talk about taxes as like a punishment. Why does the government steal my money? Like, why do I have to work for the government 2 days a week and blah, 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 blah. People seem to talk about taxes as though they're an end to themselves, maybe because of the disconnect we have between the taxes and the government income and the government outlays because we borrow so much. But Come on, bro. They're usually saying that so they can fund universal Medicare and shit like that. I very, very rarely, if ever, have heard a progressive connect taxation to hypothetical programs. I just don't hear that speak very much. And they seem to demonize wealthy people a lot. I can't believe we disagree on this, but I mean, hey, maybe that's just my perception. I could be wrong, I guess. Actually, when Bernie Sanders ran, I think Bernie Sanders did a good job at connecting the two. I remember Bernie Sanders actually had a graph for, what am I thinking? In one of his campaign things, he had a graph for like a proposed program and then a tax that he wanted to tie it to. Fuck, I'm not gonna be able to find it. Bernie Sanders, I think, probably did a good job for the messaging on this. But the vast majority of the time I hear progressives or Democrats talk about taxes, it usually just comes off as like a demonization of wealthy people.
Congress. It's never been authorized by Congress.
EPA is not authorized by Congress?
I'm asking you.
I thought EPA was authorized by Congress.
Well, the EPA is not. The EPA has never been formally authorized by Congress.
Okay, so we know this is not true, right?
However, this agency has imposed over $1.3 trillion in regulatory costs since the Biden regime took office. We authorize committees here in Congress to...
Why don't states do their own universal health care? Why does it have to be national? I think states should try it. Actually, I encourage that. That was a strong argument that was given a long time ago. Was that an X-Skills Me argument? That if people think that like a national type healthcare should work, then states should try it. In California, I think they have, it's called Medi-Cal. So I think that, and wasn't Romney Care a thing that people spoke about? So I think some states have tried it, but wait, let me grab a bowl real fast. You already reviewed the Chevron case? Yeah, we read the whole fucking thing.
To ensure that we have proper oversight and accountability in the functioning of the executive branch. And this process is extremely vital because often we see agencies for oversight and accountability in mandatory costs since the Biden regime took office. We authorize committees here in Congress to ensure that we have proper oversight and accountability in the functioning of the executive branch. And this process is extremely vital because often we see agencies abuse the separation of powers, creating rules and laws, regulations without consent of Congress. And we appropriate funds to agencies.
We often see people break
agencies, and this process is extremely vital because often we see agencies abuse the separation of powers, creating rules and laws, regulations.
What laws has an agency created? Theoretically, that should be impossible, right? I can't tell if there are specific or particular things that I'm unaware of, or she has no idea how the government works. I don't know. Given that we just saw the EPA is authorized by congressional statute, as I'm almost positive every single executive office must be constitutionally. I can't wait for us to go over the Constitution. No!
Mr. Chairman, Administrator Regan.
I push Control T. Is this article, what part is the, nope, Article 3? Is that the judiciary or is that the, that's judiciary? Article 4? No. Yes. Congress. Oh, Article 2. So it would be under the executive. Control F. Office. Hold on. I'm trying to see. We just read the part where it says, She's calling regulations that go past what Congress authorized, laws made by the agencies. I'm sorry, but we're peeling back. Remember, we're peeling back this year. I'm not going to be that charitable to people anymore. So no, I'm going to say if that's what you meant, you should have spoke clearer. I don't get anywhere near that level of charitability if I misspeak or if I'm even slightly wrong on something. So I'm not granting that much charitability to somebody that says that the executive agencies are creating laws. You have to explicitly explain that you are being hyperbolic or metaphorical when you say that. Wait, what part of the, okay, hold on. Constitution, creation of executive offices. It wasn't Article 2. What's the language? Article. Shall have power by and with the advice and consent of the Senate to make treaties, provided 2/3 of the senators present concur, and he shall nominate, and by and with the advice and consent of the Senate, he shall appoint ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, judges of the Supreme Court, and all other officers of the United States whose appointments are not herein otherwise provided for, and which shall be established by law. I think it would be this part, right? But the Congress may by law vest the appointment of such inferior officers as they think proper, in the president alone, in the courts of law, or in the heads of department. Okay, so Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2. The President of the United States shall have the power, by and with the advice and consent of the Senate, to appoint officers whose appointments are not herein otherwise provided for, so not explicitly listed in the Constitution, and those shall be established by law, meaning from the legislature. Okay. This is where the creation of offices is spoken about in the Constitution for how the Congress makes offices that exist under the President of the United States to help him in the enforcement of laws passed by Congress. Okay.
Again, is it true legislation from Congress? It's never been authorized. You.
I thought EPA was authorized by Congress.
Well, the EPA is not. The EPA has never been formally authorized, posed over $1.3 trillion in authorized committees here in Congress to ensure that we have proper oversight and accountability in the functioning of the executive branch. And this process is extremely vital because often we see agencies abuse the separation of powers, creating rules and laws, regulations without consent of Congress. And we appropriate funds to agencies like the EPA and expect these tax dollars and this tax dollar funding to be used in accordance with the legislative priorities and comply with the oversight requirements. So, Mr. Regan, last month, the Supreme Court rightly overturned the Chevron doctrine, which the EPA relied on to support its very controversial and costly rulemakings. Since your agency has never been authorized by Congress and has since—
That's not true, but—
lost most legal standing.
That's also absolutely not true. And it's even explicitly spelled out in the Chevron decision. Roberts says that if something was ruled with Chevron deference in the past, we're not overturning all of those cases. They can be challenged again if you wish. There's no guarantee you'll win. You can challenge if you wish, but he explicitly put that that's not true, that they lost their legal standing.
Authorized by Congress and has since lost most legal standing. Does your agency still plan to enable rogue bureaucrats to enact unconstitutional regulations?
I'm not quite sure I follow you. You're saying that—
I'm saying the Chevron doctrine was overturned by the Supreme Court.
We have no authority?
I'm saying you've never been authorized. Wait, hold on.
Congress doesn't delegate authority for us to do the regulations and the business and the policy. So since—
He's just explaining how government works, like incredulously. Congress doesn't authorize the
They do, right?
1970.
So the
we
Chevron
were sitting
doctrine,
in a
where
row.
you have created all of these rules under that have been proven to be unconstitutional
None of what she just said there was true.
by the Supreme Court, has been overruled. So now I'm asking, are your bureaucrats still going to implement these rulemaking processes?
Well, nothing. Her question isn't even wrong. It just doesn't even make sense. Nothing she's saying is even remotely like tethered to reality here. My guess would be, I don't know how stupid or how far up the stupidity runs. I don't know if Boebert understands how government works. I'm curious what her. I'm gonna look it up, and she's gonna be like fucking Yale law graduate, cum laude, top of her fucking class, or some crazy shit, huh? Lauren Boebert. Politician, businesswoman, and guns rights activist. Restaurant ownership. Jesus, what is this? She owned a bar. Boebert and her husband opened Shooter's Grill in Rifle, west of Glenwood Springs, Colorado. Boebert says that she obtained a concealed carry permit after a man was beaten to death by another man's hands outside of her restaurant and began encouraging the restaurant's servers to carry guns openly. That is mostly false. In 2013, a man who had reportedly engaged in a fight blocks away ran to within about a block of Boebert's restaurant, fell, and died from a methamphetamine overdose. Died from a methamphetamine overdose? How much meth do you need to do for an overdose to kill you? Sure, I want the autopsy. The raw investigative files. Or actually, wait, we can look up LD50 methamphetamine. Wait, is it LD50? That's what I'm looking for, right? There's no shot the official cause of death is meth overdose. Yeah, my understanding is to actually, like, die from a meth overdose is really hard. I don't know, like, I think you have to take, like, an ungodly amount. I don't know why the LD50 isn't listed in an easy-to-find place. Mice are examined after this. LD50, methamphetamine humans. Methamphetamine abuse is an important problem in Thailand. The number of addicts and abusers is increasing. Abusers usually use speed pills by oral ingestion or inhalation. The dose used is about 5 to 60 milligrams of methamphetamine, while the lethal dose reported is 200 milligrams. Death due to methamphetamine toxicity is uncommon. Is it 200? Really? I would have assumed it would have been higher. Maybe. 200? Um... 200 milligrams is nothing of meth. 200 is gonna blow your. That's wait. That's a pretty sure 200 milligrams of meth is gonna be a huge. That would be a huge hit. I think if you're prescribed methamphetamine as a medication, I think that is the upper bound like 15 or 20. Prescription amounts. What is the max? The usual effective dose is 20 to 25 milligrams daily. Max dosage. Shouldn't there be like an FDA sheet on this or something? Max. Oh wait, is this it? It doesn't list the, okay. Huh.
We don't have good experimental human LD50 values for most drugs. We usually model and extrapolate from rodent data. I guess that makes sense. It's not like you can test a bunch of humans in controlled environments to see. But how long does it take for meth to take effect? For meth, I'm pretty sure it's very, very, very fast. Like if you eat methamphetamine, like even for a pill, isn't it like within 5 minutes? If you smoke it, it's probably almost instant. Wait, you can smoke meth, right? Yes. Why do I keep searching? I keep getting these stupid government websites. I don't know if I'm doing... I'm not sure. How did you get started on 60? Vyvanse is... it's a dextroamphetamine. It's not methamphetamine. Even eating it hits fast. Yeah, the point of for methamphetamine, I don't know why. We could look it up. Fuck it. Why not? Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're reading this month. Why does methamphetamine go to the brain so fast? Something about the methyl group allows it to pass the blood-brain barrier very quickly or instantly. I don't think it's like it just goes through like very, very quickly. I don't know why, but it's something to do with the methyl group attached, I think. Listex or Dex. The amphetamine in Vyvanse is dextroamphetamine. There's a lysine attachment, but dextroamphetamine doesn't as readily cross the blood-brain barrier as methamphetamine does. But methamphetamine does very quickly. I just don't know. I don't know why. Dude, okay. Is there a way to exclude a domain? When you search for drugs, you should be able to auto-exclude every .gov. Any information about illegal drug from any government website is always fucking dog shit. Lauren probably didn't even write those questions. It's probably a staffer. How do you feel about proxy voting in the Senate? I don't know what that even means. What can a staffer vote for you? Oh, maybe somebody did write it for her, actually. Okay, it's a classical stimulant substance of the amphetamine class. It is structurally related to amphetamine. However, it crosses the blood-brain barrier more rapidly due to its relatively high lipid solubility. This is in 2006. Did we even have science back then? Unlike cocaine, which works principally by blocking plasma membrane transporters that reuptake monoamines, methamphetamine exerts multiple pharmacological effects via different molecular processes. The primary mechanisms by which the amphetamine class of drugs increase levels of monoamines, principally dopamine, include the redistribution of... Wait, I always assumed that cocaine was an amphetamine, but I guess it's not. It's a stimulant, huh? Does that mean that cocaine is more similar to like methylphenidate than it would be for like a methamphetamine? That's what it sounded like. It just blocks reuptake instead of causing more shit to leak out, basically. I'm pretty sure if it's XR Vyvanse, it's lisdexamphetamine. Vyvanse is a name, stands for the compound, two molecules together, a compound, of lysine and dextroamphetamine. But the thing that activates in your brain or whatever, the lysine thing is stripped off by the liver, and then you've got dextroamphetamine is the thing that is doing stuff in your body. I just don't remember. I don't know why it's harder for dextroamphetamine or an amphetamine to get to your brain instead of a methamphetamine. I think methamphetamine just means there's a methyl. Is that literally it? Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. We will look. We'll read because I have nothing else to do today. Destiny, no LOL. No what LOL? Amphetamines and stimulants are different. I always thought amphetamines were a type of stimulant. Yes. Stimulants are anything that increase CNS activity, I think. And amphetamine is a class of stimulant. Stimulants are a class of drugs that increase the activity of the brain. They use for various purposes. Okay. Why'd you go with extended release rather than immediate release? Because if you do immediate release, it like spikes more, and you have got to take like multiple pills a day and fuck all that shit. I'm on methylphenidate doc. I asked if Coke agreed with me before he prescribed it rather than Addy. Bayzed. Bayzed. Okay, fuck this. It's too much for now. Fuck. The brain chemistry shit is too much. The diagram depicts the neuroimmune mechanisms that mediate methamphetamine-induced neurodegeneration in the human brain. The NF-κB-mediated neuroimmune response to methamphetamine use, which results in the increased permeability of the blood-brain barrier, arises through its binding at and activation of sigma receptors, BHZ. I don't think this is... Somebody will post on the subreddit about this. Wait. Following oral administration, methamphetamine is well absorbed into the bloodstream with peak plasma methamphetamine concentrations achieved in approximately 3 to 6 hours post-ingestion. Methamphetamine is also well absorbed following inhalation and following intranasal administration because of the high lipophilicity of methamphetamine due to its methyl group. It can readily move through the blood-brain barrier faster than other stimulants, where it is more resistant to degradation by monoamine oxidase. When taken orally, 30 to 54% of the dose is excreted in urine as methamphetamine and 10 to 23% as amphetamine. Damn, could you drink like a fucking meth head's urine and get methed out? Okay. Anyway. I don't think this guy died from meth overdose, but he might have. Who knows? I guess he could have. All right. Back to our good friend.
You do know Chevron is not just focused on EPA. So,
but you are. So I'm asking about the EPA, and I'm asking about your rogue bureaucrats that have enacted these unconstitutional regulations. Are you going to repeal them?
The funniest meme, if you wanted to fight with conservatives on this, and I might, because I think Michael Knowles brought this up in his Chevron thing. Did he not have a YouTube video on it? Bruh, you're really gonna... It was this, but I think it was in like a YouTube video. Nice, whatever. Is conservatives will say, now that we've gotten rid of Chevron, we don't have to worry about unelectable bureaucrats or unelected bureaucrats writing laws for the United States. However, the point of the Roberts decision is you actually do want elected bureaucrats that are writing rules and regulations. You don't want You do want unelected people deciding law. So when they say things like, oh, bureaucrats who are unelected are making these big decisions, well, that's what the Supreme Court wanted. They want unelected people making these decisions, which is why it was supposed to go to the court where they have political installation with lifetime tenures. So it's funny that I think Noel said that too, where he's like, yeah, Chevron was so horrible because all these unelected people are making rules for us. That was the main reason, or that was a big reason why Robert spoke about getting rid of Chevron, is because it shouldn't be electable people that are making these like legal decisions, because their legal like opinions could change on a political whim. It's just a random.
Are you going to continue to implement them, or are you going to stop altogether? Since it's been overturned.
Do you understand the ruling?
Do you
No. Oh, he realizes she has no idea what she's talking about. Is there a good short form explanation of the new Chevron decision, or should I watch your VOD of you reading through it? I thought about making a video on it, but it's kind of boring, and I don't think I even disagree that much, so I'm not sure. Maybe I can. Maybe I could make a video on it. I don't know.
going to stop altogether? Since it's been overturned.
Do you understand the ruling?
Do you understand the ruling of the Supreme Court?
I do. And so your question is ill-formed. No.
Will you
we're
be
not
repealing?
We're not going to stop.
You're going to.
Yeah, this is what I said earlier. It was like her question's not even wrong. It just doesn't even make sense. I feel like she doesn't understand how the government works.
Unconstitutionally continue with these
We're going to
rulemakings.
We're going to adhere to the
EPA.
Supreme Court and continue to
So
do
which rulemakings are you going to roll back?
We're going to adhere to the Supreme Court and continue to do our work in accordance to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court.
So which
made a
ones are
ruling.
you going to repeal?
The Supreme Court didn't tell us to repeal anything.
The Supreme Court, yeah, and he should be even stronger with that. The Supreme Court explicitly said that statutory stare decisis, meaning a respect for a prior ruling, would apply to every previous rule that had already been ruled under Chevron deference. So he can be even stronger with a statement there. I don't know why we're fact-checking Boebert. It's a waste of fucking time. Just as a real quick. By doing so, however, we do not call into question prior cases that relied on the Chevron framework. The holdings of those cases that specific agency actions are lawful, including the Clean Air Act holding of Chevron itself, are still subject to statutory stare decisis despite our change in interpretive methodology. So they're not overruling or saying that anything else is like illegal or against whatever. That's not happening. But I mean, obviously she hasn't read the case, but I don't even know if she has a summary of the case.
The Supreme Court.
So which
made a
ones are
ruling.
you going to repeal?
The Supreme Court didn't tell us to repeal anything.
They have been deemed unconstitutional.
No, they haven't. Nothing here was even a matter of constitutionality, really, truly. It was just a matter of the type of legal review being applied.
No.
Absolutely, they have.
Okay.
This was a huge victory. And, even in our appropriations bill.
Do you actually like law stuff, or are you just doing this to get informed? I think law stuff is really interesting. I feel like there's like a definitive structure, and then you can make arguments within the structure, or you can argue for the structure itself. But I feel like if you like programming or like Factorio or any autistic shit like that, I feel like the law stuff is interesting. I think it's interesting and intriguing. And the law stuff is cooler because it's it has so much like foundation in the historical traditions of the founding of the country, right? The way that our law and our government is structured is important. It's meaningful. It impacts you on a daily basis. It sets the United States apart from most other countries in the world. Like, it's cool.
They have. This was a huge victory. And, even in our appropriations bill in the House this year.
I don't know why people type this. You can argue the separation of powers argument to remove deference is a constitutional matter. You might be able to argue that. Boebert can't, and she sure as fuck is not. So I don't know why. Well, actually, every single thing actually can theoretically be interpreted. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that. Thanks for the contribution.
The funding has been reduced by 20%. I would argue that it means absolutely they have. This was a huge victory. And, even in our appropriations bill in the House this year, the funding has been reduced by 20%. I would argue that it needs to be reduced by 100%.
See, this is also what I mean, where it's like, earlier when people were talking about taxes, when she's talking about funding, she's not talking about like, well, here's the programs we need, here's the programs that we don't need, so let's like adjust our funding. She's like, get rid of all the funding, it's bad, it's evil, government spending bad. Like, it's just a statement on the morality of taxation or the morality of government spending without like an actual consideration of the programs that any of it's even funding.
But in this, it's because of these radical Green New Deal policies that jeopardize domestic energy development and overload America's power grid and raise costs on American consumers and businesses. So with the EPA and these overreaching regulations,
Representative Boebert posted this video on her channel as a win.
Have any intent on working with the House majority to lower energy costs and produce more reliable and affordable energy?
If you look at our rule, we are producing reliable, affordable, diverse.
I think America's Americans' wallets would disagree with that. I mean, the Biden administration, if they continue under Obama's administrative policies, this regulatory pace for a full 8 years, the cumulative costs of this administration's rulemakings would exceed $60,000 per household. And as you know, the Biden administration reversed President Trump's successful deregulation by executive order. So the Biden regime is on pace of increasing regulatory costs at a rate of $617 billion per year in just rulemaking. Rulemaking that we are seeing is unconstitutional.
It's just shocking. You spend so much time with our regional staff and regional administration in Region 8 and have such productive conversations about how we're doing things for your district and your state, and then you take this microphone and you
I've also seen the coal plants that have been decommissioned in my state.
But 100% we should not
I've seen the energy regulations that have regulated my district into poverty.
You're spending time with my staff
sure.
in your
Of
district.
course I am. I have oversight over your staff, and I want them to answer.
Is she on the? Is that true? Does every single office have an oversight accountability thing? EPA Oversight, Wikipedia. What would you call like the, or is it the OAG, the Office of... Committee, Oversight, EPA... House Oversight Subcommittee on the Environment. It was a subcommittee within the U.S. House. It was dissolved in this. Have Republicans to control. Oh, damn. I wonder what... Well, I guess we just look her up and see what committee she's on, huh? Lauren Boebert. I love how... God, I'm so sorry. No, I'm not actually. I'm glad. I'll bleed. I will gladly bleed my conservative fans. On January 5th, the day before the storming of the United States Capitol, Boebert urged people to remember these next 48 hours, saying they would be among the most important in American history. The next day, and the hours before the Capitol was attacked, she described the day's events as Republican's 1776 moment. What was that again? Was that just a protest, 1776? Oh, committees and caucuses. Thank you. Co-chair of the Congressional Second Amendment Caucus, communications chair of the House Freedom Caucus, member of the Congressional Western Caucus, member of the Congressional Blockchain Caucus. There's no way that's as fucking stupid as it sounds, right? That's not a real thing, is it? The Congressional Blockchain Caucus. It must mean something in politics. Or actually, you know what? Sorry, I hear blockchain and I get triggered. Technically, actually, I guess it wouldn't necessarily be bad. I have people in Congress who have an interest in stuff relating to cryptocurrency. That's not actually a bad thing. Sorry, I'm just predisposed to hate this person. It's not necessarily a bad thing.
I want them to provide a service.
Although I would pay a lot of money to hear her explain for 15 minutes what a blockchain is. I would love to hear that. Do these videos exist? Boebert explains blockchain, or how about Boebert explains crypto? Boebert explains cryptocurrency. God, I would love this. Oh, fuck. Okay, never mind.
You're not aware of any employee taking something that one would consider a vacation time and bringing their computer and maybe logging in just a portion of that time, or not at all? We have more than 25% of federal employees not logging into work, and they're teleworking.
Congresswoman, I do take issue with the characterization that 25% of individuals are not logging in.
It's in this leaked document right here that we just submitted into the record.
You're basing that from 2020, which was in the last administration, and I can't speak to that.
Of course I am. I have oversight over your staff, and I want them to answer. I want them to provide a service for the American people.
Complimenting them
but there
about
are
the
so
partnerships.
much. Yes, there are some things that have been done well, but
we
not
should be
everything.
100%
when we have 600.
1776 represents conservatives more than just the revolution. You had this issue with protesters on January 6th. I attended Tea Party rallies over 10 years ago that had 1776 merchandise and paraphernalia everywhere. It represents to them freedom and independence, not just revolution. One thing that I've come to appreciate, what was I reading? I don't think it was the Federalist Papers. I don't remember what I was reading about, but basically, things like freedom and democracy don't really mean anything in and of themselves. These are like incredibly abstract and sophisticated concepts that, in order to ensure them, have so many different approaches and built-in safeguards, I guess, to make sure that it works. As an example, if you want to live in a good democracy, then having a pure democracy where every single decision of the government is left to referendum would probably be one of the worst ways to do that, right? So you might think that we value democracy. It's like, well, what do you mean by that? Because on the flip side of this, some conservatives will say things like, we don't even have a real democracy. We don't elect every single person. Like, well, yeah, if you elect every single person, that doesn't necessarily make it better. The public having a say over every single thing doesn't necessarily make it better. There's just more voting, but it wouldn't necessarily accomplish what the goal of a democracy is, which is to have a government that in the aggregate represents the voice of the people, right? Because if you had a government where 51% of the vote could make dramatic changes to any policy at any point in time, it would be a shit show, right? So, yeah, I don't have very much, maybe this sounds elitist, but I don't have very much respect or care for somebody who's like, I like freedom and freedom and freedom. It's like, okay, what do you mean by that? Freedom to do what? Can I go, kill your children? Well, not that much freedom. Well, why not? So you're restricting my freedom. Well, that's different, though, because if you exercise your freedom to take away the freedom from somebody else, that's actually not freedom. Oh, okay. Well, what about a gang rape? Okay, because that's 10 people getting maximum freedom in exchange for one person not having any freedom. But I mean, that seems to be in a utilitarian sense, a good trade-off, right? Well, that's different. Some crimes you just shouldn't do. Okay, no freedom where you're taking somebody else's freedom away. Okay, so we can't have any freedoms at all where we're infringing on some kind of freedom from other people. So that's one hard rule that's already restricting a ton of behavior. And then how far does that extend, right? Okay, well, let's say that I want to build something on my property that crosses over into your property. Do you have access? Do you have restrictive property rights that restrict my freedom just to build? Or how about to even walk in places? In the United States of America, if you're European, at least in Sweden, I think you can walk across vast swaths of privately owned land if I don't think it matters as much. I don't even know I think in Sweden explicitly it's not illegal. In the United States you can't do that. It's considered trespassing if you walk through a farmer's fields. Even if nobody's there, even if whatever, the farmer can come out, find you, tell you, hey, get the fuck out, or I'm going to shoot you, or whatever, and they can do it. It's within their rights to do it, right? So is that freedom? Is it more freedom that one man can have, owning all of that private land, and he's not even on it? Is that freedom? Well, it's kind of freedom because he owns it. Okay, so you can own something. All this to say, and we could walk down a billion different arguments. All this to say that when people are just freedom and democracy, and it's like, okay, that doesn't mean anything. These are words on paper. The structure and what you actually mean when you say that is so much more important than just the words themselves. Or there's that famous Jefferson quote that I don't even know if it is actually his fucking quote. Is this even a Jefferson quote? Or Franklin quote? It might just get attributed to everybody. Oh yeah, you literally see both of it right here. But the quote is, it's like a comic, I've seen it too. Democracy is two wolves and a lamb voting for what to have for lunch. Liberty is a well-armed lamb contesting the vote. That's not even really speaking to democracy or voting at all. That's just speaking to the right to own a firearm. Yeah.
$617 billion per year in rulemaking.
I thought the USA had that as well. It's called easements. I believe an easement is just shared property between two people.
100%
When we have $617 billion per year in rulemaking, that is absolutely absurd. When you are taking our affordable clean energy and regulating it out of existence and killing these good paying jobs in my district, yes, I have a problem with that.
Sure, yeah.
My time has expired and I yield.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I think that was 46 seconds over, so we'll take that. Thank you.
We'll take that. Oof. What do they put it in?
Mr. Raskin.
If they took those
If
46
we're going to
seconds.
start timing people over, then you're going to have to start editing your comments on your opening statements and everything else. But I will do that.
Ooh. Can you rationalize the military draft with respect to freedom? Yeah, sure. If the government has any essential function, it should be providing for the safety of its citizens against foreign powers, right? If we even the most libertarian would say that if he was going to strip away all the functions of government, a standing military, I would imagine, would be one of the last things to go. If government has any essential function, it's to provide for the protection of its people. And sometimes to provide for the protection of your people, it might mandate or necessitate compulsory military service, right? You might say that, like, listen, in order to, afford for the defense of our country from a foreign power, people have to step up and fight. Yeah. It's $10 for being a gangster. Also, YouTube chat is way cooler than Kick. Nice. An easement is a specific purpose for a section of property. No? I don't know. I thought an easement was just when two people can have a claim to the same property, or they have like a shared. They have shared property. That's what I thought. The home that I owned in South Omaha, I had an easement with my neighbors because there was like a strip of parking lot that was on, I think, both of our properties. Or maybe it's a right to allow somebody else to use your property, something like that. I think an easement might just be the right to utilize somebody else's property. So it belonged to one of us, but the other person could use it, I think, maybe.